Here is a formula. It is A equals B times the quantity squared of D minus C. And underneath all of that you have an E. You must solve for C. C is the chosen variable and you must solve for it. You must begin getting things away from the C. You can't do anything with this up here yet because you have everything divided by E. If you're going to divide by E and you want to undo that, you must do the opposite, which is multiply. So if I multiply this side by E and this side by E, I can now cancel out the E there and be left with AE on the left and then B times the quantity squared of D minus C. We still cannot do anything with this inside the parentheses because those parentheses have a B on it. And to get rid of the B, you must divide both sides by B. When you do that, the B's cancel out, and you're left with AE over B equals the quantity squared of D minus C. We still cannot do anything with the C inside because it still has the D minus with it and the quantity is squared. We have to get rid of the quantity squared in order to be able to manipulate inside of that. To get rid of the quantity squared, you must square root both sides. So the square root of this side, the square root of that side. We'll leave you with the square root of AE over B equals D minus C. Now we have to get the C by itself. To get that C by itself, I need to move this D over to this side, change the operation. So I would have the square root of AE over B and then minus D outside of that whole quantity. Do not put it under the square root sign. And then set it equal to a negative C. The C still has a negative sign on it, and to get rid of that negative sign, I must divide both sides by negative 1. When I do that, the sign of everything is changed on the left, so I now have a negative square root of AE over B, and then plus D. And finally, we have C by itself. Our formula here is AB minus C equals DE, and you're going to solve for B. B is on the left side. We can't do anything with this A until we get rid of the plus or minus stuff that's over there. So to do that, I would have AB left on the left, and this minus C will go to the right and become plus C. We can get this B by itself by dividing both sides by A. So the A's cancel out and you're left with B equals DE plus C over A. We want to keep A squared on the left and move the 2B over to the right side. And it'll become positive 2B and then plus C. So you'll need the square root of both sides to get A equals the square root of 2B plus C. We are looking to get A by itself, and to do that, our first step is to move the D to the right side. And it becomes minus D. Now we have to get rid of the quantity squared, and to do that, you need the square root of both sides. And that leaves you with A plus C equals the square root of E minus D. And to get A by itself, you must move that C to the right side. So that leaves you with the square root of E minus D and then minus C. We must get C by itself. And to get C off of the bottom of that fraction, you would have to multiply this side by c and this side by c. When you do that, the c's cancel there and you're left with a squared b equals c times the quantity d minus 5. Now to get the c by itself, here, we're going to have to divide both sides by d minus 5. Doing that will leave us with a squared b over d minus 5 equals c, because these cancel out. We want to get x by itself, so we must start with 3x squared staying on the left, and then minus y goes to the right and becomes plus y. To get the x squared by itself, we must divide everything by 3. When we do that, these 3's cancel and we're left with x squared equals w plus y over 3. To get rid of the square, we must find the square root of both sides. And that leaves us with x equals the square root of w plus y over 3. We are solving for b. So to get b by itself, we have to undo the perfect square there on the left and be left with ab plus c equals the square root of d. We have a plus c on the left that must be removed. Let's move it to the right and make it minus c. And to get the b by itself, which is what we're solving for, we're going to divide both sides by a and be left with the square root of d minus c over a. To get y by itself, we have to start unraveling the left-hand side. Anything that's addition or subtraction, let's get rid of that. Move it to the other side. So we will start with 3 times the quantity squared of x plus 2y, and that's a poorly written x. And it's going to be equal to a plus b, moving the minus b to the right. Let's get rid of this 3 by dividing both sides by 3. When we do that, the 3's cancel out, and you're left with the quantity squared of x plus 2y. And on the right, a plus b over 3. Now let's undo the square on the left by finding the square root, and let's do that on the right as well, leaving us with x plus 2y equals the square root of a plus b over 3. So now we have x plus 2y on the left. We have to get the y by itself, so let's leave 2y where it's at, and the square root of a plus b over 3, and move the x over to this side, changing the operation. So it becomes minus x outside of the square root sign. And to finally get y by itself, we would divide both sides by 2, which would leave us with y equals the square root of a plus b over 3, and then minus x, all of that over 2. In this formula, we need to solve for c, and it's buried in the denominator under a square root sign. But we need to start undoing things around that c, and the first major thing you must undo would be the square root sign. Square both sides. When you do that, you're left with a plus b over c. On the right, you have the quantity squared of 2x minus 2. There is no need to multiply that out to come up with a trinomial of 4x squared, so on and so on. you can just leave it as a quantity squared. But now to get the c closer to being by itself, we need to get it out of that denominator. So we must multiply this side by c and this side by c. When we do that, we cancel those out on the left-hand side, and we have a plus b. On the left, on the right, we have c times the quantity squared of 2x minus 2. Now, to get c by itself, it is attached by multiplication to the quantity squared of 2x minus 2. So we must divide both sides by the quantity squared of 2x minus 2. And cancel that out. On the left, you have a plus b over the quantity squared of 2x minus 2. On the right, you have c by itself. We need b by itself, so let's move minus c to the right side and make it plus c. We can make it c plus d. Divide both sides by a. The a's cancel out, and you're left with the square root of b equals c plus d over a. And then to get the b isolated, we square both sides to come up with b equals the quantity squared of c plus d over a. We want to get x by itself. To do that, we would first have to move the plus 2 to the right side and make it minus 2. You can simplify 3 minus 2 to come up with 1. And then let's get rid of that 5 by dividing both sides by 5. Those cancel, and you're left with the square root of x equals 1 over 5. Square both sides to get rid of the square root symbol, and be left with x equals the square of 1/5, which comes out to be 1 over 25.